What's good, people? I want to give a shout out to everybody tuning in. Today, we're not going to be going through no reels. We're actually going to be reading a story about a young woman by the name of Addison Bethea, who was one day snorkeling off the coast of Florida, and she found herself fighting for her life. She was actually attacked by a shark. She survived to tell the story. And before we go through the story, the source where I got the story from is called The Guardian. So if any of you guys want to go check out the pictures they have there, you guys can go ahead and do so. I'm only going to post about one or two pictures so you guys can see at the end of the story who she is. And with no further ado, let's get to the source. When Addison Bethea felt the tug on her leg, she thought it was her brother, Rhett, playing a prank. It was a hot Saturday afternoon, and they were snorkeling off the Florida coast, scoring the seabed for scallops with a couple of Rhett's friends. The shallow waters were familiar territory for the Betheas, born and raised in the state, but this was a novel experience for one of Rhett's friends. They were making jokes about sharks just to scare him, Addison recalls. The four had been swimming for about 20 minutes or so when Addison felt something pulling at her right leg, strong enough to drag her beneath the surface. She and her brother had been passing the scallop bag back and forth all afternoon as they swam near Rhett's new boat, jostling each other as they went. But when she surfaced, she saw that Rhett was in front of her. That's when I realized, she says, the shark appeared, out of nowhere, at Addison's side and bit her right calf. She screamed for her brother. It was the only thing I could do. Just as Rhett turned to look, the shark latched onto Addison again, this time her right thigh, pulling her under. For a second, Rhett was perplexed. Where had she gone? And then I came back up, and that's when I saw everything happening all at once. The shark tail trashing, the blood. It was a lot. 17 at the time of the attack, now 18. Addison appears every inch the laid back, beach loving teenager, her tan contrasting with blonde hair, a thick band of friendship bracelets at her wrist. It was only a year ago that she was fighting for her life, not 25 minutes from where she is now. It may have been the shock, but Addison says she didn't see the shark once during the attack. Instead, I remember feeling everything. There was the shark's sandpaper-like skin, familiar from an educational encounter at an aquarium, and the vague, horrifying suggestion of its size. My whole arm couldn't even wrap around its body. Rhett later estimated the shark's length as of 10 feet, at least. Most likely a bull or tiger shark. Both are among a handful of species that pose a known threat to humans and are common in Florida. But even as Addison registered the predator's razor-sharp teeth sinking into her thigh, she felt no pain. Instead, she was confused. The attack felt as if it was happening in slow motion or in a dream. When you try to scream, but nothing comes out. That's what I felt like. So I belted as loud as I could so someone heard and I didn't just die in the water. Rat swam over and took Addison in his arms as she was still being attacked. That's when I started hitting the shark, says Addison. She had grown up watching Shark Week on the Discovery Channel and remembered the advice: in the event of a shark attack, punch it on the nose. As Rhett tried to get back on the boat, Addison began to fight back, reaching inside the shark's gills, poking at its eyes. Its eyeball was the size of a baseball. Very big, very gooey, very gross, she says. I remember even the moment being like, ew. On Zoom, she holds her hands up to the camera. I try to pry it off within my fingers, Some of my fingers gone, right here. The shark let go. But then it would come straight back, says Addison. She rejects the claim that sharks only ever bite people by accident because they don't like the taste. You hear that your whole life, she says, rolling her eyes. Then you get attacked by one. The attack last June probably only lasted 20 seconds. Through Red's friends were in the shallow water with them, just a few feet away. They didn't understand what was happening, she says. But Addison's screams attracted others on the nearby Keaton Beach. A man in a high-speed boat drove over to help. Red heaved her onto the boat, and the man tried to tie a tourniquet around Addison's leg. From a few inches above her knee to her hip, my entire thigh was gone, she says. As a firefighter, Red, who is 6 years older than she is, sees stuff all the time, says Addison. But she recalls him pausing on the boat. Shocked by the sight of her leg, the boat set out at the top speed for the shore with Addison in the footwell, drifting in and out of consciousness. Over the boat's radio, Red pressed first responders to send a rescue helicopter to meet them. Addison was becoming agitated, shifting her position and clamoring for cold water. Apparently, I was swearing at Red, she says, a little shamefaced. I guess I wasn't shocked. I don't remember doing that. I've never done that, ever. She does remember praying. When I was getting attacked, I was praying to God that I'd be okay, she says. Then, when I was in the boat, I was praying again, just to get me through it. Or to get everyone else through it if I did pass away. That made me feel better. Finally, the boat reached the emergency dock at Keaton Beach. Addison recalls being loaded into an ambulance, and then after a 5-minute drive, the rescue helicopter. The crew was astonished that she was still able to speak, Addison says. The flight medic was like, I know this is a stupid question, but are you in any pain? I said yes, and that's all I remember. The wind was with the helicopter hastening the 15-minute flight to Tallahassee Hospital, which meant Addison arrived at A&E just in time to catch a surgeon with the expertise to save enough of her leg to establish blood flow and stabilize the kneecap. The alternative would have been immediate amputation from the hip, and most likely using a wheelchair for the rest of my life. It is another thing that I feel God was in control of that day. Just one of the strokes of luck to which she credits her survival. Nonetheless, the trauma was severe. By the time she went into surgery, Addison had lost a lot of blood, and it was not clear whether she would stabilize. I didn't know how severe everything was for me. I could have died, she says. Addison woke up after surgery in the intensive care unit to find her mother, Michelle, at her bedside. She tried to ask after her father, Shane, but found she was intubated. The worst thing ever, she says, with a grimace. Shane, however, was already on his way, alerted by Red's friends. Still disoriented, Addison mistook Tallahassee Hospital for one that she knew had a Wendy's burger concession downstairs, and asked to be brought a frozen frosty dessert. Everyone thinks it's the funniest thing that I woke up wanting Wendy's frosty. But we don't have that where I live. Addison was in intensive care for 3 days. I don't even remember all my surgeries, she says, but I do remember my right leg being significantly smaller than my left one. She resisted her doctors at first when they said they needed to amputate her right foot and lower leg. I was in denial. I didn't know anything about amputations. I just knew that I didn't want it. But she had already lost feeling in her foot. Saving it would have required extensive skin grafts for an uncertain outcome. I didn't really have a choice, Addison says. Having a leg where I could actually be functional was a lot better in the long run. After a week in the hospital, Addison's leg was amputated above the knee. She started rehabilitation the next day. Despite significant pain, she managed to travel 10 feet with a walking frame. I don't really understand how I did it, she says. At every stage of recovery, Addison surpassed expectations. She credits it to her faith and the support of others. All the prayers that everyone sent, I got to recover so much quicker. Addison's friends visit daily, while her boyfriend Ashton would drive an hour to see her after finishing work at 10 p.m., and then another hour home, every single day. She marvels. Crazy. She spent more than half the summer recovering. Every visitor made a difference, she says. Without that, I don't know how I would have made it. All my friends supporting me, keeping my head strong. Shane did not leave her side. My dad told me every day, today's gonna be a good day, says Addison. That's what helped me get through. That and playing Fortnite, she adds. She was fitted with a prosthetic leg in early August, a month after the shark attack. But her recovery wasn't limited to learning to walk again. My fingers were so badly messed up, at first, I couldn't even bend them. Once again, she impressed her physical therapist with the speed of her recovery. Addison had lived an active lifestyle before the attack and was determined to get it back. I would push myself. I wanted to get out of bed. Most inpatient recoveries post amputation take 5 months, with deserved pride. For me to be there a month and a half was nothing. By the time she left rehab in mid August, she says, I felt a lot better, but her wounds were at high risk of infection and needed care, confining her to home. I was still stuck in my house and upset about that. The local community extended a lifeline, supporting her through her recovery. It's a small town. Everybody knows everybody. In September, she returned to school. At first, she was self-conscious about walking in front of her classmates and used a wheelchair, but soon she was confident walking with her prosthetic leg. Now she's gaining on her previous speed walk pace and is even back at the gym doing her usual weightlifting routine. Now I can do whatever. I can hop around my house. I don't have to have anything to help me. It's easy now. Recently, she marked the first anniversary since the attack. How is her life different? I would say it's better, which sounds weird. In hospital, when a medic promised life would get better, Addison was skeptic back then. But it really has, because it shows you how to be appreciative of what you've got. You don't take anything for granted once you've been through something like that. She doesn't seem to have let the attack stop her from doing anything in any way, or even slow her down. In May, she graduated from high school. Only cost me a leg, she joked on Facebook. And this summer, she's back in the water. She even recently returned with Brett and Ashton to the spot where she was attacked. Swimming, scalloping, and surfing are too big of a part of her life to give up, Addison says. I'm not going to avoid that when it's something I like to do. On the persistent threat of sharks, she is pragmatic, even sanguine. After she was attacked, local people tried to hunt down the predator without success. I didn't want that, but people were out for revenge, I guess. She was aware of the risk when she went into the water that day. What you have to realize is that once you get in the ocean, that is not your territory. The shark was following its instincts. Yeah, it sucks that it picked me to bite, but it happens. As swift as Addison has been to move on from the attack, she has made it a part of the story. On Facebook, she regularly cracks jokes about her life-altering encounter, recently posting a photo of herself inside the jaw of a fiberglass shark at a souvenir store. She has a collection of stuffed sharks at home. Ashton bought her the first one while she was at the hospital, at her request. I guess I've just been raised with a dark sense of humor. In future, Addison hopes to enroll for college online, perhaps to study physical therapy, inspired by her own experience in the hospital. Since I had to go through something like that, I feel like it would be good to help others. Plus, she adds, they couldn't be mad at me if I told them to do something, I had to do the same thing. For now, life is moving fast. Addison and Ashton are expecting a baby girl in mid December. At their recent gender reveal party, they served a watermelon carved into the shape of a friendly, toothy shark. End of the article. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I said I would post a picture or two of Addison. I'm only going to post this one so you guys can see who the story was about. I also got to say that this story is inspiring, because I'm sure that if this would have happened to anybody else, I really don't know if me myself would have been able to keep the composure that she kept. She said that her faith helped her a lot to get through it, her friends, family, of course. But the one who you do have to give credit to, because I think that a lot of people nowadays, especially in the world we live in, would have bailed on her. But her boyfriend stood next to her through thick and thin, as should. They also have a baby together. But Addison is one positive young woman. I'll tell you that. She is very positive, very optimistic. Her sense of humor was not expected by me. I don't know if I would have that sense of humor after being involved in such an accident. And as I mentioned on my other videos, if you guys been staying up on the channel, and when we talk about, the ocean and such, I used to love the ocean back in the days when I was a little kid, but not anymore for this exact same reason. And Addison ain't lying when she says that the ocean is not our territory. She understood that. And I believe that that's what helped her, get through it, because she knew that, she was in, I guess, somebody else's backyard, you can say. But she kept herself positive, didn't let the accident affect her life. She went back to lifting weights as she was prior to the accident. She graduated high school, and her life kept on moving forward. Before I clock out, if you guys want to go ahead and check out Addison's pictures, they have a few more on the, it's called The Guardian. Just type in The Guardian. That's the source where I got the story from, if you guys want to go ahead and check it out. And yeah, it's about that time for me to clock out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video with your family and friends. Be safe out there, and I'll see you on the next one.